meetings. Ben Johnson is the new coach of the Bears, and he was doing some talking. And one of the things he brought up, it's a very confusing analytic. So I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can. It's called EPA, expected points added. So Ben Johnson, the Bears coach, was talking about he thinks it's the #1 quarterback stat in the league now. It used to be turnovers. Like if you turn the ball over, you lost the game. And he said that's not really true anymore. He said this is a very complicated analytic. And the way I would describe the EPA analytic is, as a quarterback, do you put your team in a position to win? In this analytic, quarterback sacks are a killer. Get rid of the ball. And just not turning it over, that's not it. If you're throwing 42 times a game, you can have an interception as long as you don't throw it in the red zone. So here's Ben Johnson talking about the improvement of Caleb Williams.
You go back to the basics, and so it's the fundamentals of the quarterback position. What's our footwork going to look like under center, from the shotgun? What are we calling the formations? We got to get on the same page because it'll be a little bit different for him than what he experienced last year. And if we can mesh together and start speaking the same language, that's when things will really start to take off.
So the Bears, interestingly, the over-under on the Bears is 8.5 wins, and that's what it was last year. So I don't know what they're going to be, but here's why the Ben Johnson hire is really important. If Caleb Williams doesn't look like a franchise quarterback by early October, then he's not going to be. They have a really nice offensive line now. They've got really good weapons. They may pick up a running back in the first round. So they have a competent offensive coach who is cerebral. Like, I don't love Justin Fields, but he went from Bears, Steelers to Jets. Defensive coach, defensive coach, defensive coach. I don't love Justin Fields, but he never found his guru. You'll know within 4 to 5 games if Caleb Williams is the guy. It doesn't take long. I mean, remember, Sean McVay went to the Rams. Goff looked like a bust. And through the first 4 weeks, Goff had a 112 passer rating. Jaden Daniels, it wasn't even a head coach, had a really good coordinator and not a very good O-line and not much of a run game and one receiver and not great tight end production. And Jaden Daniels, in his first 4 weeks, had a 107 passer rating.
Yeah. And this is what I always talk about, the massive benefit of having a great offensive head coach over like a great defensive head coach, is that you know without a shadow of a doubt the conclusions that you can draw with your quarterback are going to be as accurate as you can get. If you have a quarterback who you're kind of like, I don't know, is he great, or is coaching holding him back? I don't know, right? Like you now have to kind of figure out multiple things. Is your quarterback good? Is your quarterback holding your coach back? Is your coach holding your quarterback back? Is your coach elevating the quarterback? Like you just don't have the answers. You just don't. But when you have the confidence in your head coach, which is why I think it starts with coaching more than anything, then you know deeply, okay, when I see this quarterback fail, when I see this quarterback just not getting it, whatever it may be, however we want to define it in any specific moment, you could be like, well, I know coaching's not the problem. And so it really then does put it on the quarterback individually, which then makes your decision a lot easier to be like, oh, we got to move on from this quarterback, or we got to draft someone, or, whatever, we got to go to our backup, like whatever the case may be. You could technically make the argument of someone even like a Dak Prescott. And although I think Dak Prescott would be better if he did have like a Sean McVay or whatever, there were moments in time when you're like, could Dak be better? Is Mike McCarthy just not good at Mike McCarthy's a competent head coach, but he's not an elite head coach. He's not Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, Shanahan, etc., Andy Reid. And so you kind of start to question, is it the coach holding them back or no? And it's you have to try to figure it out a little bit. Now, granted, I think we saw enough from both sides, from both coaching and quarterback, that like I'm more comfortable drawing that conclusion. But when you have defensive coaches or a revolving door of offensive coordinators, whatever it may be. You're kind of like, well, I don't know now. What's the story here? And when you have a team like the Chicago Bears, who had the issues that they had with Caleb Williams' rookie year, I don't know how you could possibly draw any definitive negative conclusions about Caleb Williams. I think you're more likely to be able to draw positive conclusions because you're seeing the situation that he was in. It's like if you see a really great kid in a really awful family with awful parents, and you see some great things about him and you see some really bad things about him. He's got an attitude problem, but he's really smart. You can draw the conclusion, this guy's really smart. He's really smart. But you can't draw the conclusion he's a jerk because you're like, well, he's in a terrible household. Of course he's going to be kind of a jerk. Like, if we remove him from this household, maybe he's not so much of a jerk. But I can't say if we remove him from the household, he's no longer going to be smart now. Like, I can draw that positive conclusion when the foundation is more of a negative environment, a negative atmosphere. So I don't see how anyone could draw strong negative conclusions. You can say that he was imperfect. You could say that he wasn't as great as you thought he was. I think that's fine and that's fair. But you can't say, and that's the end of the story for him. Like, and that's the conclusion. Nothing's going to change that. You could say, oh, he wasn't a very accurate thrower. Fine, let's just take that as a ultimate truth. Okay, he wasn't an accurate thrower. Based on what we saw him, the environment that we saw him in, we can conclude he was an inaccurate thrower last year, but I cannot conclude he is going to continue to be an inaccurate thrower. I cannot conclude that. There's not enough evidence for me to be able to conclude that with conviction. There's just not. There's just not. And that's why I kind of push back with kind of like someone who's kind of like, oh, well, if Dak had a better coach, it's like, well, Dak, we've seen him fail in isolation where you're like, the coach dialed up a great play. He made the bad throw. He made the bad decision. He played poorly. If we could now point to just being a terrible game plan, or if we could watch this and be like, what are they thinking? Why are the Cowboys doing X, Y, and Z? Which they've obviously had those moments too. Every coach has had those moments. And if that was the continued story, then we could say, okay, coaching feels like it's holding Dak Prescott back. But when we see other moments, when we see Dak play great against a really bad team and look really comfortable, and then against a great team, just not be able to bring it, you're like, yeah, could we say that Mike McCarthy could have coached a little better? Sure. But like, what Dak Prescott had so-and-so open down, whatever it is, he held on the ball too long. You're just like, what was that? What was that decision? What was that throw? And what was he trying to do there? That becomes more individual on the quarterback in that moment. And it felt like Caleb Williams showed me personally enough, and I've been banging this drum again and again. He showed me enough about what he can do on the field and off the field for that matter. And so combining him with Ben Johnson, to me, you do. I agree with what Colin's saying. You get your answer. I don't know if we have to put this limit on it being 4 games. Like, I hate using kind of like arbitrary. Like Colin's very much like, by Thanksgiving year 2, you either have it or you don't. And I'm like, I get sometimes it's easier to live by these hard rules, and that's how Colin lives his life. He's very vocal about that, right? He doesn't like to like work with people who golf. He'll ask them in an interview, do you golf? And if they say yes, he's like concerned that they, that they're not about the work and stuff like that. Like he's the whole backwards hat, et cetera, et cetera. We know a lot of that has become more tongue in cheek at this point, but he lives by these like harder rules, and I think things are just more dynamic than that. And I'm not going to just use Jared Goff and Sean McVay as this ultimate reference point. I'm still going to give Caleb Williams some grace to kind of have a little bit rocky of a beginning of a season, but I'm not going to act like I'm going to give him a whole season to just be like, oh, well, what are you going to do? It's his first year. Like, no, you want to see measurable signs of growth, and see him actually have like a legitimate impact on winning, which, to be clear, I think he will. I just don't have the desire or feel the need to be like, within the first 4 games, if he doesn't have a passer rating of 112 or higher, he's not the guy. By October, move on. Like I'm not going to make that claim either, because Ben Johnson is also kind of have to figure this out as well. You know, he has to get situated as a head coach, and I would say that Sean McVay brings significantly different energy than a Ben Johnson. That, you know, who knows how that translates and how quickly that translates to winning football as the actual head coach and not just a coordinator. You know, we're just not comparing, you know, apples to apples here. It's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to, you know, bowling balls. So I continue to be excited, man. I really am. I continue to. I'm more hyped this season for the Chicago Bears than I was last season. So I'm really going with my gut with this one. I think that as long as Caleb Williams just proves to just be a good quarterback, just a good quarterback, not great, not elite, not special, just a good quarterback. As long as he just proves that that's his floor, he's a good quarterback. You know, he can win you some games. As long as he's just that, I just can't see how the Bears just don't significantly improve and significantly pop. You know, unless they really whiffed in free agency and the picks that they got, you know, the guys that they got ended up being, you know, more banged up than they thought or something, or just, you know, over the hill, and they really whiff in the draft. Like, outside of some just disastrous, you know, personnel moves from there, I just can't see how this team is not, you know, really, really formidable and doesn't just, you know, really win some games. It's just hard for me to not see that. I would genuinely be shocked by it, and I would have to really reflect on what went wrong and how can I make better conclusions for myself moving forward. Like, it would actually genuinely be like, why did I think this team was going to be so much better? Like, what went wrong? Like, it would consume me, because I can't see it. I can't see this team playing so poorly and where they only have like 5, 6 wins, 7 wins. You know, like, I just can't see it. I really, really can't. So outside of Caleb being a true bust, and if he is a true bust, that's also kind of shaking too, because I'm like, okay, how did that happen? You know, how did we reach this? How did this come about? So either way, it's going to be interesting, honestly. From an outside looking in, been looking for entertainment and interest. Like, I'm all about this, because I think it's just either way, seeing how this all unfolds, you're going to be able to learn so much about football, how the NFL works, the relationship between coaching, quarterbacking, what translates from college into the NFL, what you can see from rookie year to the next year. Like, either way, whether this goes amazingly well or disastrously wrong, it's just going to be a 2-year sample size of the Chicago Bears are going to be perfect textbook football 101. Study it, learn it, grow from it, embody it, and you'll learn more about how the NFL works and operates, what it takes to be a good team, a great team, an okay team, a bad team. Like, it'll just be a front row seat, because if they play great and they win, you're like, yeah, O-line matters, coaching matters, give a rookie quarterback some room to fail. You know, you got to nail the offensive coordinator if you have a defensive head coach. Like, you'll be able to look at it from so many different angles. And if they fail and things are bad, you'll be like, that's the problem. Just because someone's a great offensive coordinator doesn't automatically mean that they're going to be a great head coach. And, you know, if Caleb Williams ends up being a disaster, you're like, yeah, see, just because you were great in college and you had some of the skill sets, like, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like, either way, you have a front row seat in what works and what doesn't work in the NFL, and what you need and what you don't need, and how much a single variable can change everything. So, like I said, either way, I'm glued to the Chicago Bears without a doubt, just for my own educational purposes. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, and the growth that, quite frankly, both him and Caleb and the Chicago Bears as a whole, you know, the potential for that growth. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.